But there's another interesting way of doing this too. I think, you know, besides psychic bubble, one thing that's been really interesting to me are two elements, and they both come from the work of John Diamond. Dr. John Diamond is one of my favorite healers, and he's a dear friend of both of ours. He pioneered behavioral kinesiology with the very recently deceased George Goodhart, who developed kinesiology, which is muscle testing. George Goodhart made the most brilliant intuitive leap that a noxious substance of any sort placed on your body makes your muscles weak. So if you're allergic to something, you're not just allergic to it in terms of hives or whatever, but if you put that subject on that substance on yourself, your muscles would test weak too. So Dr. Diamond was one of the first to make an intuitive leap that toxic thoughts would also create weakness in the body. And it's quite amazing to watch him. He'll sit there with a subject and say, your mother doesn't love you. And all of a sudden, boom, their arm goes down. You have a flat tire, and boom, their arm goes down. That annoying neighbor is right there in the other room, and boom, their arm will go down. Any kind of negative thinking will make their muscle test weak. So he was very interested in this. He wondered what it is that keeps an arm strong. And he came up with this idea, the homing thought, which is he called it a homing thought because he was thinking of pilots who were off course and suddenly having to find their way home. And he found over thousands of testing, and he's muscle tested so many people. He's found that over all of these testings, the one thing that keeps your arm strong is your mission statement, which is your divine purpose, the thing that you were put on this earth to do. And I think I said earlier in the weekend, this doesn't have to be a grand job. You don't have to be the Prime Minister of England. You don't have to be changing the world. You can be a fantastic gardener. You can be somebody who just enjoys a great conversation. You might be the best neighbor of your block, somebody who helps the people who are in need. You might be somebody who finds it most rewarding of all to go read a story to an old person. You can be somebody who's a fantastic cook, or that totally undervalued activity. You can be a really great mother. Any of these things if they put you in touch with the divine, that is your purpose. It is, in a sense, your mission statement. Now, I want to take this idea one step further and throw out this possibility that you are an intention experiment. You and your life are an intention statement. Everything you do and say are all part of your intention experiment, all part of your intention statement. And so what's very important is to make that mission statement coherent. Many people, as I said earlier in Saturday, have an intention to do good in the world, but their work is highly destructive. You know, I had a woman who was a really lovely woman who worked for me, was really interested in philanthropy, but she had worked for Coca-Cola. And she just got to the point where she said, I just can't do this anymore. I am rotting the teeth of the children of the world. I can't do this anymore. And so that's one thing, to look at your work. Is your work consistent with your mission statement in some way? It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be the central mission statement, but as long as it isn't conflicting your real mission statement. And so look at that. Look at how you are in your relationships. Are you, like I told you before, that wonderful psychologist who was a great philanthropist, who realized only after his wife walked out the door that he'd been ignoring her and his family for years in his zeal to be a do-gooder? Look at your communal intention statement. How are you with your community? I hope to create another community for you with this weekend. But how is that working with your intention? Is that coherent? All of these things, all of your life, should be coherent as an intention experiment. Now, You can find your life's central mission statement if you don't know it already. How many people have a coherent mission statement they understand is their divine purpose? How many people? How many people are still confused about what that might be? Okay, we've got about half and half. I figured we might. What were your natural talents as a child? What were your natural skills that come the easiest? What were the accomplishments that you had? I'm just reading these out, but they're all in there. So you can take some time mulling them over. And we'll just share for a few minutes when we come back. What were your accomplishments that you had, you effortlessly did? I watched my daughter, Anya. Our daughter, Anya, is a natural kinesthetic genius. She is a brilliant athlete. Everything she throws the ball, it's out of sight. She connects with the ball with a bat, it's out of sight. She runs fast. Anything she does, she's a netball genius. But she's also kinesthetic in every regard. She's a brilliant dancer, and her sense of space is fantastic. She drives once someplace, and she knows exactly how to get there, which is great, because I never know. So that is her accomplishments come easiest to her when it's that kind of area. That's her particular genius, and it's what fills her with joy. I watch her in activity, and I can see she's got the life force right there. So look at things like that. Any other activity that puts you in touch with the divine, what is it that you do that stops you from even thinking about the time? That just where you lose time, you lose a sense of even being there. You are transported. Whatever that is that listening to music? Is it playing music? You know, and identify what aspect of it is that you really love. And when you've started looking at all of those kinds of things, from when you were a child to now, then start looking at your strong trends and visualize yourself doing these activities. You can even, we don't really have time today to teach muscles testing, nor am I an expert at it. But you can, if you've done it before, get tested or have yourself tested. When you're holding that thought of that is your life's mission statement, are you holding a strong thought? And if somebody then throws a negative word toward you, do you continue to test strong? And that will give you the sense of the power of this. And the reason I suggest this is because I believe that when you are being, as it were, attacked by negative intention or weakened in your own mind by negativity, that is, of course, going to come your way at some point. I believe the strongest and most effective counter to that is just holding on to what you were put on this earth to do. Just holding on to your divine purpose, your mission statement. And that, just honing in on that, can be one of the most potent things there is. All of those questions I have on your sheets so you can look at them. While you're doing that, I'd also like you to think about the size of your resistance. Because many times when we have a desire to change our life's purpose, we also have a lot of limiting beliefs. So one of the other things that I'd like you to write down is the size of your resistance. How big is it? How much does it weigh? Get a sense of it. Even look at it physically, if that helps. But write down some of the reasons why you can't do this. And then look at those, really look at those, and see if they truly are as big as you think.